market capitalization. The gap between this is important to be understood because it shows how far Bitcoin is from achieving its stability and necessary usability to be taken advantage of individuals. So at the end of this debate, when more or richer people can buy more GPUs, or when gains must come at the expense of people who cannot make the same informed decision as lower income individuals, we say we must create a safety net and we must make sure that those individuals will not come out as losers. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I now call on the leader of
opening opposition believes that any individual should have access to cryptocurrencies. And we think that as a state, it is our responsibility to facilitate the best way that they can opt into those markets. That's why the clash is simple. One, we're obviously not going to ban poor people or any individual from accessing this, because if they feel like they are capable of entering that market because they have technology or because they have loose change in their pockets, we think it is justifiable for them to opt in. But second, as a response to the harm, we think that these individuals should therefore, the government should give them information drives or should campaign about risks about both types of currencies or about what it means to invest in traditional savings vehicles. We think these are inexclusive harms to cryptocurrency that came out from opening government, and we think it's something that you should analyze in this debate. Because the burden, therefore, of this debate is to prove that, in principle, this is an unjust policy and it is in fact discriminatory to the poor, but second, that no other alternatives that you derive from this type of policy can lead to the same benefits from cryptocurrencies. The first thing that I want to respond to is that notice how all of his argumentation relied on Bitcoin. So one, if it is true that Bitcoin is as evil as they think it is, then other individuals will move on to other safer forms of currency. They have to prove that it is inherently exclusive to all types of cryptocurrency. Which means that sometimes currencies and traditional cash currencies are even volatile, but it doesn't mean you should deprive the poor out of access from these types of currencies. So by allowing principle, just because a thing is volatile, doesn't mean that individuals should not be allowed to make calculated risks to determine for themselves what is a risk they're willing to take. The government cannot blanketly assume these types of scenarios for individuals at all. But note how we conceive that new markets will always be volatile. And we are investigating and still exploring the new waters that cryptocurrencies is. But to deprive the poor of access to it now is to deprive the potential of the benefits that could be arrived. And the growth from $1,000 to $6,000 is something that the poor would have never accessed under their model. But second, the first argument was weird because they told us that, you know what, we need technological access and there's a lot of prerequisites to invest in. Fine, there might be a lot of prerequisites, but that's not a standard for a ban. That's just a value-neutral argument that says that individuals may or may not have access. So if some individuals don't have access to it, you don't need to ban a whole population of based on income and that. So if the problem is about safety nets, the safety net is not to ban them altogether, but give them like insurances for other types of investments, or even welfare that currently exists in status quo if the poor go broke and it's not exclusive under their side. Three levels of argumentation that will respond to our principle. First, we think that this is a clear act of government overreach, but second, that preventing access is incompatible with the purposes of cryptocurrencies, but lastly, why there's unique benefits that cannot be deprived from the poor. Yes?
The SEC requires you 50,000 pesos before you can register the business. That does not make them anti-poor. It forces individuals to create safety nets before they can enter risks.
No, if you open up a business and register it in SEC requires 5,000, but you can put up a sari-sari store without that necessary financial institutions exist, but also micro investments or these individuals, even if they're poor, should be allowed to make. So you can sell balot without your 5,000 monetary capital because these are avenues to expand options for individuals. First, why I think this is clear government overreach. The first conclusion I want to drive at is that the state cannot control what people do with their money, and this is clearly property of the poor. And if the poor already have limited capitals and limited access to goods and services that exist in status quo, like they cannot put up like their business that requires 5,000, or they cannot put up like invest in a bank. What the alternative is to expand their choices, and that's a government principle. When natural incentives in the world prevents access to the poor, the responsibility is to give them alternatives for expansion of those choices, not deprivation of those choices. We think that cryptocurrencies in the first conclusion is the expansion, and in principle, because of the low required access, low capital requirement to invest, you can invest a peso, is enough for the government to ensure that individuals should have access to it. But second, not all people invest and buy things in any form because they can decide and should be able to decide the best way to optimize personal resources to meet their needs and utility, such that the state's role is no longer just about banning people, but it is about guidance and information drive to make sure that people are making calculated risks based on a plethora of information. So we think that at that point in time, government's model and principle does not stand. The last conclusion under this argument is that we think it is unfair because it is a government unjustly enriching the wealthy. The exclusivity of access to the rich means that the benefits of cryptocurrency as exclusive to the rich, the mobility of the asset and being able to bring it around, or even the return of investments that are super high, such that in conclusion, the rich get richer and the state needs to be able to break these exclusive spheres of enrichment such that the poor have the same equal access to these types of vehicles. Second, why we think that preventing access is incompatible with the purpose of cryptocurrencies. We need to analyze that the reason why it was created is out of general distrust for traditional sectors post the subprime mortgage crisis. The central banks were against the poor. The West, the Wall Street, and banking institutions actively deprived the poor of multiple information sources. This means that humans are fallible and cryptocurrencies are a rejection of institutions that are controlled and monopolized by cheaters in Wall Street. So cryptocurrency is perceived as safer for individuals. In conclusion, the poor should not be blanketly left out of spaces that they personally feel safer in. The job of the government is to tell them that maybe it's not so safe, but insofar as people believe that is a risk they're willing to take, it is a risk they should be allowed to take. Last, why do you think this leads to good outcomes for the poor? Note how there's a clear problem with traditional banking institutions. Either, one, that there is low access in rural areas, or there's a general distrust for these things. But even the fact that you require a maintaining balance to access a bank account means that the poor are structurally left out of getting a bank account. This means they can't experience growth rates to keep up with inflation. Comparatively, because you can just invest 1 peso in a cryptocurrency, the poor has more opportunities that traditional sectors leave them out of. We think the poor are better off under our side, but if they are harmed by a rapid burst of that bubble, the government's job therefore is to help clean up the mess, the same way they cleaned up the mess of Wall Street.
Thanks for your opposition, Deputy Prime Minister.
It's funny that PAPAT is fighting for deregulation and the free market's ability to innovate financial instruments, because that innovation has allowed the poor and average middle-class American to buy into subprime mortgages and the magic of the financial market simply because it was deregulated. We think prudence is most lacking when everyone is able to believe that there's this magical money-making instrument that everyone can buy into. Currently, that magical money-making instrument is Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other cryptocurrency. We think we have a responsibility to protect the poor and the middle class who do not understand these risks. I will argue two things in my speech. Firstly, I will talk about why without a cap, you lower the market-wide incentive to screen participant capabilities. So Ryan already talked about the opportunity cost of investing into a CPU and linking them up with the app. I will talk about how on the supply side, this also increases the ability of suppliers to actually neglect who has to buy the CPU and how stable their networks are. Secondly, I will talk about conversely why a cap creates more incentive for stable free investment condition. Notice that opening opposition has clearly ignored the potential capabilities necessary to show the SEC before you can start the business or start brokering into a trade. This will argue that just more explicitly to satisfy them. No, thank you. A few things to respond to from Papa. Firstly, he says that his counterprop will be status quo with information drives. That is problematic because that's not really exclusive even with the status quo requirements you have in Ryan's speech. We already do have financial literacy drives for starting a sari store or starting a business or starting stocks, but that is not exclusive to requirements of minimum financial capability before you can enter stocks and trade. So we don't really see why this is a solution to status quo. It's only an addition to status quo that has failed. Secondly, no thank you. They see that, the context is only applicable to Bitcoin. There are thousands of other cryptocurrencies. This is absurd. There is this concept called portfolio management where you watch the speculation of one asset to determine how much you will speculate and invest in another asset. We do that with stocks all the time. Like if you see BPI stocks falling, we invest in BDO or Equitable Bank. We think that if that same irrational calculus is applicable to stocks in general, we don't see why that thing is similarly inapplicable to Bitcoin as well. And especially if you see Bitcoin falling, then we'll invest in Ethereum. I don't think that's far-fetched. No, thank you. Next. The main case that he discusses is that we cannot control what you do with your money, and this is a rejection of state oversight or whatever. 3 levels of response. Firstly, this argument ignores the obvious principle in pragmatic parallelism to business regulation and stock trading. This is an agreement that yes, once you do start trading in businesses and stock, we can't tell you which business to invest in. But you first have to prove that you are capable with the money and you won't get yourself shot in the foot. This is not because we want to hate on the poor, but we respect the poor so much that we respect the opportunity cost necessary to gather all the business partners, to gather all the banks that will trust them enough with this money to begin with, and make sure they will not lose that money the instant they make one wrong business decision. No, thank you. This also ignores this society-wide economic implication. If one major business fails, or several sets of businesses fail, then it reduces the ability and trust of people to invest in your businesses. This is not a water pump where just because one company loses money and then another money can easily gain it. There is opportunities to trust and investment in people. We think it's a necessary requirement. No, thank you. Secondly, this also ignores the opportunity cost when you're in the market as well. For example, Ryan told you it's not very easy to buy a CPU. I mean, not very many people on the street will buy your CPU if you decide to quit Bitcoin forever. But secondly, also discuss that within downturns, it is only the rich who have the capability to last these downturns longer because you have much more assets. If you are poor and Bitcoin's bubble suddenly bursts, you will have to get out of that market immediately or else you will suffer the losses. The beauty of a minimum is that the losses are limited to the people who can actually take it. And if the goal of the debate is to limit the losses for anyone who wants to take risk, then clearly you have to side with us. But lastly, before the case, deregulations have exactly caused this crisis to begin with. I will talk about it in my argument, but generally because of deregulation, it allows people to be more predatory, make more hype about financial product that people do not have to understand, that you don't have to understand the magic of Bitcoin to be able to invest. Let's go to the extension. Firstly, why do we lower market-wide incentive to screen? The major premise, but before that, yes.
Is that to prove why cryptocurrencies is the same as all other types of investments when clearly it's a rejection of those existing non-traditional sources?
By that same, it's similarly, like in that worst case, small and medium enterprises are rejection of government subsidy or government backing of major corporations because you want to start your own business. We don't think that's a far-fetched disjunction coming from cryptocurrency. Let's go to the premise. The greater the speculative benefits of an investment, the greater the incentive to create disproportionate risk. At certain points in time, investors stop caring about how creditworthy or stable their debtors are because the pool of users anyway and the promises of financial investment seem to hedge them anyway. For example, in mortgage-backed securities, the reason investors started selling them to bums in America is because they didn't care. They thought that the housing bubble would go on forever. And in this scenario, what then is the analysis to Bitcoin? Currently, Bitcoins are primarily dependent on the number of users on their trading platform. So simply, the more users you have, the more data processing you have to mine. And that creates the bubbles that we're currently facing right now, with Bitcoin having broken the $11,000 mark just a few weeks ago. Without those market control, there is an increasing incentive for predatory recruitment for people to just buy their CPU, buy into these trading platforms, invest all of your savings into just one particular business because you're going to get these rapid investments anyway. And to a certain extent, that is true simply because everything is exploding. But the moment the market goes on downturn, the moment these traders feel they can pull out and cash in their Bitcoin, they're more than willing to screw over these people who invested their life savings, no thank you, into these products. For example, when Bitrex trading platform opened last month, 23 million new low-income users opened that market and it ballooned the Bitcoin from 8,000 to 17,000 US dollars. Clearly, what is the conclusion? If the goal of the debate is to protect returns, that is impossible because of the lack of the cap creates predatory conditions for people to feel that this is the only investment possible when clearly it is not. Secondly, how does the cap create more incentives for stable reinvestment conditions? The beauty of a cap or the beauty of a requirement is that it's not just about getting 50,000. If you already feel that you'll have to take time anyway to get the 50,000, might as well make sure that 50,000 is stable enough so that you don't have to get yourself screwed over. Which means you're more likely to consult on business owners. Like, is cryptocurrency the right investment for me? You'll make sure that your business partners will not abandon you even in downturn. Generally, this means that even if you are poor, because you have this requirement and you're able to prove your trustworthiness to the bank or other investors, this means that the most trustworthy or the most capable are going to be the ones who will be invested in. Anyway, they will not lose out for an opportunity. But for people who are going into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency on a full dream and on a pipe dream, we're going to exclude them and we're less likely to get them at risk. So what is the comparative? Yes, maybe for a huge swath of middle class people, we might be depriving them of easy money or alternative. But if that is making sure all their other alternatives are safe with their saving, then we think that's the perfectly good trade-off to stabilize not only their personal investment, but the rest of the economy. For all those reasons and more, we're very proud to propose.
Thanks, MC Prime Minister. I now call on Deputy Main Council. Here.
More than anyone else know the value of their money. They know exactly the things that they're doing for it. They know exactly the risks they are taking, and they more than anyone else are extremely careful about the risks here because the consequences they face are potentially life-threatening. We think it is incredibly insensitive for opening government to brand all these poor individuals as both incompetent and unable to be able to make proper financial decisions regarding the cash. Three things I want to respond to the opening government case before my extension. The first thing we have to really settle here is where do we protect the poor? Because note that the only thing opening government wants is a safety net. Without really saying why banning access is the only way to ensure that safety. Why? Because even in status quo, note that even the poor can do things like mortgage their own house in order to have loans, for example, undergo risky investment. The end consequences of undergoing risky investment in cryptocurrency and undergoing risky investment in normal financial institutions are the same, and yet they admit that things like welfare, for some reason, are acceptable safety nets in normal standards, where the consequences of you potentially losing all your wealth is the same. Why is that? Suddenly, because it's cryptocurrency, we cannot accept that same standard of safety net when we are still able to achieve the protection of the poor, meaning they're not going to die, they can still get access to basic welfare and necessities. We think they have to provide status quo is unacceptable if those same risks that happen can still be hedged on our side. But next, we don't think even on their best case that they're able to fulfill the standards of keeping the poor safe. Why? Let's really characterize these poor beyond the one-dimensional characterization that they are incompetent. Look, if you are on a minimum wage job where you don't meet any of the requirements, you cannot start a business because you don't fulfill the requirements of the SEC. You cannot buy stock because you don't have the right capital. You cannot make a deposit in the bank because you don't have enough money to pay. We think the harms you're trying to prevent are probably already happening to you cannot do anything about those things. We think that at the best, when you lock them out of those opportunities for cryptocurrencies, for example, the only other alternatives are equally as dangerous. Maybe going to loan sharks, for example, or risking their things on betting or whatnot. We think they don't protect the poor, and other alternatives that they could have considered, which could even be safer, are left out from them. But last thing, we've never proven, and this is the main burden, on why we have to discriminate based on income levels. Because the rich may still invest all of their life savings and money in cryptocurrency, still face the exact same harms of the market volatility, of having to vent these extension of selling their CPU or whatnot, and still all these things sit down goes to show that they've never proven if these exact same harm happen, why should only the poor prevent it? But more than that, their harm is solely edged on the idea that they're incompetent. But we think the answer to incompetence is information, not feeding them, because that does not make them that doesn't at all help them get any sort of competence if you constantly lock them up. They already said they want people to consult with other businesses. They want them to be able to be prepared, but preparation, if that's what they want, never happens on their side if the poor will constantly feel like I'm never going to access these markets anyway. Okay, on to my extension. How we increase the social-economic divide. Closing.
Okay, I think that there's a third-party harm in terms of these individuals opting into the market of Bitcoin. Are you then willing to say that these individuals shouldn't enter?
Here, here.
Look, good luck proving that first. But second, it's more about how the individual is able to deal with their money and being able to ask that. If you're still able to protect the individual, and if you can still protect third parties, again, welfare, then it wouldn't really matter. What am I going to tell you? How we increase the socio-economic divide. We think education, information, and access are necessary for the success of the poor because they allow us to hedge against risk. Even if they face risk, we think these experiences can be passed down within their communities, for example, to their children, to the point that this information accumulates, that they get better, that they get more experience in these types of markets, sit down, and that they're able to eventually succeed. That's why we like things like microloan programs that invite the poor to have more access and more experience within these institutions so that they're able to know the risks, spread them among themselves, and essentially educate. We think that barriers that prevent participation means that they're also prevented from accruing the benefits that will happen in the future of finance. Banks, for example, are already moving a lot of their stuff to increase online banking or creating new systems. We think being able to have a role in the future in finance is important to be able to get out of those poverty levels. But the problem is that the rich are advantaged because they are the ones who are, because they are the only ones in this market of cryptocurrencies. They are able to dictate and shape the system so that they will constantly benefit them. Means, for example, if the government decides to legislate, the poor have no investment in the future of these kinds of things. So it comes to the point that anti-poor laws or more of these regulations might constantly exist. But even if they knew that there was a harm, we don't think they would be equipped to fight back because they are so uninformed about what is happening in these cryptocurrencies or do not have the legitimate experience and know-how to be able to say maybe these future laws, these legislations on how the government wants to deal with cryptocurrencies are wrong for me in the long run. Eventually, all the information that institutions will have to go on is how the rich operate in there and how we best be able to help the rich, such to the point that even if you are poor and you finally cross that threshold to be able to address these markets, for example, or be able to participate in cryptocurrencies, you are still unable to benefit from any of the things that can happen in these cryptocurrencies. You understand, this policy may be well-meaning. We all want to protect the poor. But we think that if it is a policy that sets up the systematic oppressions of the poor, not just currently because of a denial of access to alternatives, but as well as in the future, in their inability to be able to control how these markets should grow, develop, and forward to that into a safer and more equitable environment, then we think it is contrary to the duty of the state and unconscionable to allow this policy to pass.
Thanks, DLO member.
people smart enough to use Bitcoin and other kinds of cryptocurrency? We want to extend this debate and talk about the fundamental idea of what makes Bitcoin as an entire, cryptocurrencies in general, actually, as an entire business actually work out in the first place. So we're going to talk about that by explaining the actual features of all cryptocurrencies that they have in common, and the idea that they are a limited resource, the idea that they are decentralized, that creates the urgency, therefore, for why only a limited number of actors can make use of these Bitcoins, and why we don't think that poorer individuals are able to opt into that market meaningfully at the end of the day. We're also going to be investigating why we think that individuals such as the poor want to enter those markets, their motivations, and compare that to the motivations of other richer individuals, and why we think the market is more likely to fail should we trust the poorer individuals. Therefore, the standard upon which we're going to say that these individuals shouldn't be using the Bitcoin is on that idea of a third-party harm, not necessarily to other poor individuals, but to the fact that you are compromising the integrity of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a system because of that. So let me talk about then what are the two fundamental key features of these cryptocurrencies that you want to talk about. First, that they're limited. Take a look at Bitcoin, for example. It's limited in two ways. First, that there's only sit down around 20 million or 21 million Bitcoins that can ever be generated in existence, and the actual creation and the distribution of that only releases like a couple of those every number of hours. So once enough of those Bitcoins have been released, such that it reaches that number 21 million, then Bitcoins will no longer be actually released. Furthermore, at the end, if you read the white paper on actual Bitcoin, you would know that that's how they work. And you cannot create more of that, because obviously, if you have an unlimited number of this resource, it will have zero value, as if you're printing your own fake money, right? But second, notice that it's decentralized, and this is what differentiates it from different kinds of currency. In the sense that if there's a shortage of pesos, the Philippine government can create, using the central bank, the right number of Philippine pesos to create in order to accommodate the market need. But nobody can artificially increase the number of Bitcoins there ever will be, much like it's a natural resource that you cannot actually replenish, like let's say endangered species and things like that. It means that you cannot, for example, recreate that resource, and therefore that fixed number will always be there. What then is the harm when we think that too many actors are actually using that common resource in the first place? What happens is you sharing that resource with all of those other actors is what raises the actual, reduces the actual value of that currency in the first place, because only a limited number of people can use that. To which we then have to ask, why do poor people actually use Bitcoin in the first place? We don't think it's so that they can actually meet their basic necessities like buying chicken joy at the local Jollibee, right? We think that the particular reason why people even opt into the market of the Bitcoin is because they know by holding on to that Bitcoin and making sure that it's even more limited than it is now, that's when they jack up the price of Bitcoin so that they can sell it at the future rate. So they're not using this currency so that they can use it for the actual purpose of purchasing objects, but they're using it so that they can profit out of it by using the idea that it is a limited resource in the first place, which we think is actually harmful. Because in the market, therefore, where the vast majority of individuals using that limited resource are not using it for exchanges, but using it to hold on, means that the actual currency doesn't have value anymore, because you're not using it as a medium of exchange, you're just waiting for the price of it to jack up in the first place. That's the same kind of mentality that created the harm, for example, of the housing crisis in the first place, where people thought that land and housing as a limited resource would always increase in prices. That's why people kept holding on to them and kept giving out those bad loans, until such point where that belief was destroyed and the entire market, the entire housing bubble happened, because people thought that it would always be valuable, and eventually it became worthless in the first place. But yes, open.
Note how your line of argumentation is that the poor should not have access to it because it ruins all the fun for the rich. Who the rich?
Okay, and also because there is no actual value to the poor in itself, because you don't generally use Bitcoin as a poor person to purchase, I don't know, super expensive airplane tickets, right? The actual needs of the poor, for example, are going to be basic necessities, to which Bitcoin is not, or other cryptocurrencies are not the kinds of resource that provide you those particular needs in the first place. So there is no actual value for the poor in this currency other than exploiting it for their own personal gain at the hearts of these other individuals who actually see real value in these Bitcoins in the first place. That's why the actor, therefore, that needs to use Bitcoin should be these individuals in the first place. because we think that these individuals, therefore, once you limit the number of actors who use it, that's when the currency becomes more usable because the prices become more stable when it's not constantly being held in the hands of an individual, and that's when the price is lower such that it can be used more for more common interactions and more common purchases in the first place. The value, therefore, this has to the people who will use it, for example, such as the rich, can be one of two things. Can be one, just purchasing the expensive things that they want as their lifestyle in the rich, but second, it can also be purchasing imported products from other countries. They don't necessarily have to use they don't necessarily have to use unstrategic monetary exchanges when it's too expensive to switch currencies. For example, those are the actual things that make Bitcoin work when you're using it as a medium of exchange, which only happens exclusively once that market is freed up of the individuals that are holding it for their own personal gain at the end of the day. Therefore, on the standard of where do we actually see value in this Bitcoin, it is when it is being used as a medium of exchange. The only actors interested in that are going to be those richer individuals who do not need to exploit that market anymore. There is no actual value of this project to the actual poorer individuals. So regardless of whether or not they're intelligent or rational in how they use it, the fact that they're using it selfishly at the expense of other individuals is a legitimate cause of why they have to ban their particular use of that Bitcoin. And the actual value, therefore, is for those other individuals that are richer at the end of the day. So the conclusion is, closing government is going to win these semis because we're the ones that are able to talk about what makes Bitcoin work and other cryptocurrencies work at the end of the day, why it's universal across all of those cryptocurrencies, why we think the poor will be able to harm all of those actual projects, and why we think that the right actor that is able to use it are those that are richer. That's why we are very proud to
Next member. The following member.
You're here.
While we agree with the fairly compelling case of opening opposition, that individuals have a right to access this economy, that they have this property, we're going to go more deep and talk about two extensions. Firstly, we're going to talk about the state and how it's a vanguard of financial mobility, and devoid of the capacity of these individuals, why do they have a right and ability to not be restricted from entering this? Because we say that early entry, the time-sensitive nature of being able to enter that market is very important. But secondly, we're going to talk about how this is an extension of your right to self-defense against a state that has been complicit and a state that has perpetuated your poverty, and why we think if it's really about a predatory environment, they're the ones that create that. But before that, a few levels of rebuttal. Firstly, let's establish this whole concept that, oh, Bitcoin is something that's exclusionary to the rich by its nature. No, if you analyze other cryptocurrencies, like Litecoin, for example, it's something that's ASIC resistant. And we think this is very important because it actually resists softwares that the rich can use in order to simply mine what they want, to simply use their resources. So there are other cryptocurrencies that allow for a more competitive advantage for the poor to be able to access and be able to compete. On their model, this allowed the poor individuals from mining and excavating the digital hoard to create that currency. But secondly, in terms of whether or not Bitcoin is, or Bitcoin, Litecoin, and all these other things are here to stay, we say that the world has already conceded that insofar as we will completely transition to a cashless society the next decade, that it is here to stay. The fact that Japan, Australia, the United States, many economies have already created legislation like the Financial Security Agency of Japan just 2 months ago means that they do acknowledge that the existence will stay. They do acknowledge that it is cryptocurrency is something that's going to be an integral part of the economy. But before we move on to my extension, let's engage with closing government. Because we contend there's something fundamentally wrong with the premise of their argument. Because the premise is very assertive. It asserts that certain segments of the population behave or will use Bitcoin and Litecoin a certain way. Some people will hoard, then create more regulation or anti-hoarding laws. The debate isn't about banning them to do it completely. Again, we say their argument isn't exclusive to the poor. There was no link created by Sheldon to prove that if you are poor, you are more likely to keep it, vis-a-vis if you are rich, you aren't going to keep it. Also, this whole concept that there's an artificial number there, for example, if we value, guys, gold is something that we peg many of our currencies to, and we think that we can also trade assets as well. Realize, Mr. Speaker, when we used gold before, or even now, even if you're able to create it, you're able to trade it for other things. You can trade it for other currencies. You can even buy a Subway sandwich in America with Bitcoin. So if the concept is, oh, individuals aren't going to use it, again, that's very assertive. Again, we don't understand it's an argument for better regulation, not an argument for why we should restrict it. No, thank you. Now let's talk about the extension. Because we think that beyond O's analysis that individuals have a right to their property, we think that what they're doing is ultra-paternalism. It's an absolute imposition of the state, and why is this harmful? Realize that financial mobility is something you adjudicate for yourself. Why do we not ban smoking or ban vices? It's because even if health is something we understand, that is constantly degraded, or there's a high risk that your health is degraded if you smoke or you drink alcohol, we recognize that individuals adjudicate health for them. Individuals adjudicate how much of the imposition or the conception of the state of health is something they want to impose. We say that devoid of capacity, the state doesn't get to arbitrate what is the greater good for you. We say the state does not get to say that this is something that's against your financial mobility, but often than not, it enables the choice for individuals. So that's devoid of capacity. But the second thing we need to look at is how it creates an administrative formalization against the agency of the poor. Beyond O's analysis that they can be competent sometimes, we contend that more often than not, these individuals are thrifty. These individuals, if you look at the urban poor, if you look at individuals, we give them conditional cash transfers. We allow them to participate in the lottery. There's no assurance that you will get the optimal advantage in participating in the lottery. You won't always win the winning ticket. You might lose a lot of money, but we still allow them to do these particular things. We say what's important, and the extension is quite clear, is obviously it's volatile because it's in its early stages. Obviously, it's going to create some normalization in the future, given the regulation that's currently happening. What happens on their model? We parallelize this to the Rye system in India, where when the introduction of cash first happened by the British, what they did is they disenfranchised the poor who had to pay in crops instead of paying in cash. Why is the time-sensitive nature very important? Because if you are the first ones in the market, you're able to exploit and garner a competitive advantage in the market. The same analysis holds for competitions or corporations. If they allow SMEs or smaller corporations to be able to take risks, then these corporations aren't able to expand and get those shareholdings. Similarly, poor middle-class individuals can't excavate a digital hoard. They're going to enter a competition that's already been winning by the rich. They create anti-competitive behavior, and we see that's harmful. We contend there's a right for individuals to access the developing economy, and we say on their model, they delay that right, and we see that is harmful. We say that is horrible.
Even in your example, there's minimum age, there's a condition. In times of volatility, the rich can wait out the fluctuation, but the poor are left to not know what they do. Discuss the full extent of opportunity cost.
Again, we don't understand why the standard is, will you optimally maximize this advantage? Because we say if that is the standard, then on their model, they're not going to create it. But fine, let's engage in a safety net. Because we contend it's not a safety net, it is a shackle towards your financial mobility. It is a shackle that in the future doesn't allow you to proceed. Let's talk about the second extension. We see that poverty is a result from the failure of the state to have progressive tax reform, from being able to create redistribution. So we think it is a form of self-defense against the state and against the current inequality that exists. The state should not deny other recourses, because beyond O's analysis that, oh, they're going to have loan sharks, we say the beauty of cryptocurrencies, it allows you opportunities that are disjunct from the current system. The fact that, as Bentley said, you can engage it at any time. It's based on algorithms, your ability to solve math, vis-a-vis on their model, where it's based on banks that are based on your capital, it's based on banks that for more often than not have been volatile. They create a cycle effect, where individuals or the poor create that self-perception, and they're disincentivizing for participating in the market. Because not only do they deny the demystification of cryptocurrencies, but they also deny the ability of these individuals to say, you do not have a place in this market, you do not have the ability to be able to create. You relegate the poor to only do practical labor or manual labor. You relegate the poor to a system that the state has been complicit to, that has from the start is rigged towards the rich and rigged against the poor. Under model, as a form of self-defense, you should have the ability to have other alternatives of action, and it is the height of state responsibility to deny that, especially when it's the state that's created or been complicit to your poverty to begin with. We've never been more proud to report.
Next member of OP, I now call on Government Wing.
on who they want to protect, right? Because we tell you that as much as it is true that we tend to demonize the rich in this debate, we think that they are also our individuals who have rights that we must protect at the end of the day, right? We think that it's actually the poor who have more to lose out when it comes to these investments in bitcoins, because they are the ones who are investing thousands and millions of dollars, while the poor, as many as they are only like investing only a little anyways. But we think that because they are significant in number, that means that they do have a negative effect when it comes to the fluctuating currency of Bitcoin, right? We think that it is the existence, coming from my partner, that it is the existence of these low-income earners in Bitcoin that places literally everyone who invests in it at risk, right? And we think that this was the important argument coming from my partner that was not engaged on in this debate, right? Because they tell us that the poor will feel sad if they are not given a place in this market, but their entire side has yet to prove why it was so important to begin with to allow individuals to play in this market anyways, considering how even they on their side told us that they have this part, that the market is something that is volatile, and there's an information asymmetry that exists that can put these individuals more at risk, right? But two issues in order to seal the way for closing government in today's debate, right? Firstly, on how should cryptocurrencies be used, and secondly, on where are individuals as a plurality better off, right? Firstly, on how should cryptocurrencies be used, right? Because we think that ultimately this is an issue on an access like what opening opposition was talking about versus making the system better like what my partner told us, right? Because leader of opposition tells us that people should have an access to an alternative because they have a distrust in banks, so they should be able to rely on a new currency, right? This assumes two things. Firstly, that cryptocurrencies are marginally safer than banks, which is we think that was already proven to be unsure, right? The fact that there's already a lot of skepticism as to whether or not these things can become safe because of the fact that there's no existence of any type of regulation for these types of cryptocurrencies, right? At the very least, we think that ultimately when these things are proven to be unsafe, it is these low-income earners who have already invested what little that they have who ultimately are going to lose out, right? But we think that the second assumption is that cryptocurrencies are more profitable than banks, right? But then we think that this is also unsure, right? Because we agree that cryptocurrencies can become a bubble, option of an engagement in the worst case, right? And we think that my partner has already proven this to be true, right? Because he told us that the only way to make it safer and more profitable is if only high-income earners actually bite into it, right? This analysis comes in two levels. Firstly, on how bubbles are created, and secondly, why is this applicable to the behavior of low-income earners? We tell you that how bubbles are characterized, that how bubbles are created is when money stops going around because investments are held hostage, wherein everyone owns something, like in the housing bubble, wherein everyone owned a piece of property, but no one was willing to engage in these types of transactions, right? Why is this applicable to the behavior of low-income earners? Because majority of them only invest in Bitcoin and wait for the market to fluctuate and for the value of these Bitcoins to go higher, and that's ultimately how they earn, right? Why is this not likely to be true and was dismissed simply by closing opposition, right? This is likely to be true because the poor have more to lose, like Ethereum is currently used by the rich in order to create contracts and engage in these types of businesses, right? We think that because there's such a high threshold, in order to create transactions, and in order for me to transact, like say for example from Sheldon, already requires a high amount of income, already means that individuals are less likely to actually move around their money and simply wait in order for the value of these money to actually increase, right? But we think that if the response is going to be regulation, that individuals aren't allowed to hold hostage their money, we think that then on their side, the poor will still be driven out anyways if that's their counterpart that they want to go by. Because the poor cannot simply comply to these types of transactions that they want these individuals to make, right? We think that normalization can only occur when you have the behavior of a market that is beneficial to cryptocurrencies, and that's only when individuals are actually able to trade and make this type of currency go around. But before I move on,
If your problem is about the usage of it, why is the proposal of educating and informing them something that simply is not
we
enough?
tell you that it's not even just a matter of information asymmetry. It's a matter of capacity that these individuals don't have the necessary income to be able to engage in these types of transactions at the end of the day, right? But ultimately, what we've proven under this issue is that your cryptocurrencies will only ever succeed if they regulate the types of people who choose to engage in it. And we think that it's only these high income earners that are actually able to But we tell you that the consideration of when to opt in should be the greater harm that you might be able to cause to society and the effect of you opting in to the rest of the individuals in society, right? We think that this is parallel to a lot of regulations that we already have in status quo. Like for a driver, I can drive recklessly because anyways I can consent to a risk of me dying from driving recklessly. But safety laws still exist and are in place not only to keep you safe, but to keep everyone else safe. So that when you crash your car, it only doesn't kill you, but it doesn't you don't run over 5 other people or 7 other people in the process, right? And I think that this is ultimately parallel to the cryptocurrency situation, because we think that ultimately, even if these low-income earners are willing to take in these types of work and are maybe willing to go bankrupt because anyways maybe the best case scenario, it was just fair change that they gave anyways. We think that the complacency and the risk-taking manner that's going to occur, ultimately what's going to happen is that it's going to lead to a crash, and those who have tried so hard to invest in all of their hard-earned money that they have tried to earn and ultimately they invested in Bitcoin, all goes to a waste, right? We think that the principle coming from my partner was that we think that this is important because it is a legitimate affront to their right in order to be able to safeguard themselves. We think that this is necessary for Bitcoin as a corporation even to be able to put on to these types of regulations, especially for the success of this currency.
Thanks, Government Whip, to finally close this debate, and I'll call on the opposition.
Here, here.
Mr. Speaker, there are 2 reasons why the housing crisis happened. The first is that it was because subprime mortgages was rampant in the market. And the second is that at the time that people couldn't pay the mortgages, the banks chose that the people default rather than the table negotiations with the broker. We think both can be resolved by information. Both can be resolved by a culture information, and there was no clear link coming from the government side as to why exactly your social class disables you to receive information to begin with. So we think that we have to answer why exactly our current mechanisms can't work. I'm going to answer 3 questions in my speech. Firstly, is the policy fair? Secondly, why is the right to access cryptocurrencies important, especially to those excluded income brackets? And thirdly, how should the state approach the risks associated with cryptocurrencies? So firstly, on whether the policy is fair. Because this is important. We are moving towards a cashless society. Places like Japan and Australia have already opened up allowing transactions using cryptocurrencies precisely because the poor, small-scale and middle-scale enterprises are most enabled by its future use. Our frame was that the time-sensitive nature of the cryptocurrencies existing now was something important insofar as enabling more people to have this particular access, because the policy was A, anti-competition, but 2, against equality of opportunity for the underprivileged. No, thank you. So first issue, is the policy fair? Because there were 3 compelling things that we've heard coming from the whole government bench. And the first compelling thing that we've heard coming from the government side was the fact that it was unstable. But Prime Minister's explanation of why it's unstable is extremely weird, because branding it unstable does not prove instability. So let me explain why exactly, why exactly the instability exists currently. Because we think that the media right now has already hyped Bitcoin. But we think that it's understandable that people are accessing this thing because it's a trend. But normally we see that trends die. And that's why we say that right now the fixation of people to enter the market early is something that normalizes in the future. Because as we see all the time, trends is something that is case sensitive. So the moment that the poor feel as if it's not as seen as media anymore, then we're likely to see a drop in these things on the first place. But we say that their argument about instability was only based on certain kinds of cryptocurrencies that were to begin with ASIC was not ASIC resistant. So what we gave you coming from closing opposition was an explanation of what ASIC resistant is. So currently, right now, if you want to be a miner and you want to optimize getting as much assets right now in the cryptocurrency, you get a technology that's going to do that for you, an automated way of doing that. But it's an argument to say that right now, those are true for all other cryptocurrencies. So if it means that a poor person can enter a kind of cryptocurrency that does not have the same risk, then all of their premise to that case dies. Because the same risk is not true for things like Litecoin. They had to prove why the poor person is more likely to enter Bitcoin than they are to enter Litecoin. Because if the option exists, then we say that the motivation of a poor person not to enter an extremely unstable and volatile market is unlikely to happen. So in terms of likelihoods, you have to prove to me why exactly right now Bitcoin is the prevailing option for a person who is underprivileged, small-scale enterprises, and middle-scale enterprises, but you have to show me why exactly they can compete in an equal level right now in alternatives like Litecoin. But also we see that this whole argument about technological development was again something that
trying to narrow this debate down into an intermediate standard. Because ultimately, we say technological development is often one that's free for all. Even poor people can get access to technological development because states invest in it. So we say that you have to explain why is it exactly that the poor people don't have access to the same benefit that you have under your side of the house. So we say instability is a foreseeable harm, but it is an instability that, as we say, is temporary. So they have to explain why it exists in perpetuity. But the second thing that we have to respond to is that, and this is the most compelling case we heard coming from the whole opening, which came from Ben, but it looks like we're going to lose this echo round again, sit down, is that why is it, ladies and gentlemen, that the perverse incentives are unlikely to begin with to grow? Because why is it unlikely, no thank you, that these perverse incentives exist in Bitcoin or in Litecoin? Because there are several traders that have to approve a transaction, and each trader is anonymous because only an encrypted username is seen by the parties. It means that for traders, and because it's decentralized, they're less likely to have collusions with each other. That means they're less likely to trick other parties to buy this particular product because they don't know who that person even is to begin with. So we think that's a natural disincentive because you get unencrypted unless you're Chinese hackers. But we say if it's about hackers, that exists on either side of the house, and even under your side of the house, the rich people can be victims of that too, right? So they have to explain why that harm was exclusive. So we say that was a technical explanation of something economical that we say is unlikely to manifest on the first place. But we say CG's extension is really, really weird because the creation of perverse incentives is apparently based on the fact that cryptocurrencies are limited. Thanks, Captain Obvious, yes, cryptocurrencies are limited. And so it's gold, but it doesn't stop us from being able to ensure that the prices of gold are regulated because we simply trade them and decide what the prices should be. No, thank you. So we say in fact there's a new way of always mechanizing it. No, thank you. In conclusion, what does that mean? We think it's a fair policy because given the diversity of characterizations of various cryptocurrencies and the varied incentive structures that poor people can have, we say the harm is not mutually exclusive and that the plethora of ways that poor people can access this avenue is not necessarily that harmful. So if we can prove to you the bare minimum that it's not as harmful, then they do concede that it's good. We say they haven't given us any good alternative. So I'll take a point from opening.
If your opposition benefit is that cryptocurrencies are as free from government intervention as possible, then you must accept the reality that there's enough incentive for people to be speculative and predatory just to get as many miners as possible, regardless of the cost of
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the comparison. Our worst case is that in that instance, where small-scale enterprises or poor people lose money, therefore, it's the job and the opportunity of the state to help in. You have to explain, ladies and gentlemen, why at the worst case, those things aren't mitigated. Because how do we prevent those things from happening in the first place? And it is more extension on not only the principled right to self-defense, but also on how your principled right to self-defense enables you to process information better. Because we say right now, why your right to access cryptocurrencies is important is because your ability to analyze your particular access to the equality of opportunities should exist in that democracy exists particularly because you have an incentive to care about where your status is. It means, ladies and gentlemen, that under your side of the house, if cryptocurrencies will continue to exist in the market, but under your side of the house, only the people who are more privileged, only people who are not the small-scale and middle-scale enterprises are able to access it. We say ultimately that's anti-competition and also that disables you to understand further how this technology is used. It means in the future that if you want to access it, that you're more likely to develop those risks, right? Meaning the state enables that kind of risky behavior for you in the future. Because suddenly now, if you're not a poor person anymore, suddenly if you have a magical ability to get that money, under your side of the house, you're not equipped with that technology. And the reason why you're not equipped with the technology is because you don't have an incentive to learn that information. Moore's argument was that the incentive to understand that information was based on your exercise to right to self-defense, saying that I have an opportunity to this market. And the reason why that exists is because I have the ability to grow as well, even if I am not necessarily a big-scale enterprise. You've never been prouder than those folks.
Next up, quick, I think all trainers will cross the house and return to the convening hall.
Thank you. Open na naman si Hindi ko na sinabi sa iyo, Mara.